Now, the easiest place to start feeling where someone is from about the top of their pubic hair to their belly button. You have a lot of guts in there, and the stuff that's in here is relatively difficult to harm. Okay? Where if I did stuff up here, it's relatively easy to harm. So when you first start trying to do something of feeling what's inside of somebody, for God's sake, start with the stuff that's not going to hurt them. Okay? Unless you want to hurt them, then that's a whole nother matter. Okay? For example, see that there? A needle right there, and within 5 minutes, she'll be screaming for the next 4 hours. And I mean screaming. Where if you want to take that away, right there, and you can take it away within a minute. So you see, there's a big difference. What necessarily will come on fast may persist. What may come on slow may finish fast. And you have to have the experience of doing it. And that's why usually when you're learning, you have to work on live cadavers. You have to work on live people. Because when you make a mistake, boy, do they let you know. Okay? And if you're not making a mistake, you get clear signals that are not ambiguous.
Whatever psychic blockage.
Oh, well, if you're looking for the easiest. Now, so I have my hand right above her umbilical cord. This is usually charged in almost every human being because that's what tied you to dear old mom. And that current is not left. Now, if you'll notice what I'm doing with whatever the middle finger is between the V, what finger is that called? It's called something. The ring finger? Notice how I'm starting. About how deep am I inside her body? What's your guess? Huh? An inch, half an inch, inch, 3/4 of an inch. What geometric pattern is my hand making? Now I'm going to keep on going around until I contact something that seems, it's a funny kind of a solid. So as I go round and round, I do it until I can actually get a clear feel of something moving around. Then when I get a clear feeling of something moving around, where'd my other finger go? And what I'm actually on the next ring above it. Okay, go back in, and if I were to draw rings here, you'd see I'm on the next ring. Take the two rings, squeeze your fingers together, and have them come together. So this one, have them come together, and wait until you start to feel any kind of a flow in there. Now, what I'm doing with my other finger is I'm just pushing it down. And what I'm doing is I'm causing the whole thing to pulse more. And what the whole thing pulsing more is doing is it's increasing what you could call the electrical charge. It is making it stronger. Now, I'll know that I'm getting on the nearby when my fingers start tingling. You ever put your fingers in a light bulb or an electric socket very lightly and that kind of, well, your body's got electricity in it. And you want to get it until you can feel that entering your system. Now, it's only usually going to go up probably only going to go up one energy body. But what does that feel like? Because if you get that feeling, it's not going to feel that way here. And it's not going to feel that way here. And it's not going to feel that way here, but it is most definitely going to feel in this area around the belly button. And you have to wait till it's like something like a pump that's been primed. You have to pump it so many times before the water starts shooting out of it. Then you wait until you can start feeling that electricity coming into your fingers, and it starts going up your hand. And you want to wait until it finally gets up to your wrist. Now, when it gets up to your wrist, what am I doing now? I'm expanding and I'm contracting. There we go. The length of that field. I'm going to have to use my other finger so I can get the whole thing. You see this? And now when I'm doing this, I'm starting to get something that feels cohesive, like a plug. And now I want to start getting that plug. First, go past the artery, because right now I've got an artery going ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. And you want the artery to go boom, ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. And you want it to wear itself out. I'm not talking about going dead. I just mean that it would have had 100 volts and it's going to go down to 50. Then you can keep on doing this. Having it open, having it close, until it begins to soften. And when it begins to soften, you're going to feel all sorts of jazz just moving around it. Now watch what I'm going to do with my middle finger. I've got it moving now, and now I'm trying to find the center of what's causing this pulsation. Got it. And then I'm going to move it in all the directions it can move in. Now, the direction it can't move in is the direction it's blocked the first few times. Because once it loosens up a bit, even if it's not moving, it's not going to be blocked. It's just going to allow a clean pass through. Okay. Now I'm just going to put my fingers back here again. There we go. Now there's a current that will go between my 4 fingers and will go right above her pubic. Okay? You're not going into her vagina, you're not going into the bone, but you are going to this soft thingy here that you see when someone wears a bikini suit. And somewhere going in, pick your feet up, it's just going to make it more comfortable for you. And somewhere toward the middle, these 2 hands, the currents are going to join. And when they join, you're going to feel something pass between both of them, like a telephone wire. And then you keep on moving them until the vibration becomes smooth. Because in the beginning, it's going to feel like, and then it wants to go to where it goes, and it's steady, but it has a charge. Now, having done this, I've done the first step, which is get inside their body. Now, the next thing I would be after this is that since I've hit the center of where that electrical, the nexus of where these currents are crisscrossing each other, I'm going to very, very slowly get the center of my palm right over that place where those currents join. And I'm going to move very easily with the idea of softening the whole area. So now I have to dissipate that energy that's going dum, 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 dum. And I'm going to keep on doing this until it goes throughout the whole of her chest and all the way down to her hips. Now, at each stage that this circle goes further, you're going to feel something different, only it's going to be weird because it's not going to have the normal identifying characteristics of what a feeling is. It won't be condensed. It'll be amorphous. But when something reaches a strong enough stage of being amorphous, it kind of feels dense, and it doesn't feel dense. It's a hard thing to describe. But now all you want to do is keep on moving this amorphous, not amorphous thing until it starts to seem like it breaks out of a shell. And when it breaks out of a shell, it's going to fill the whole belly. And like concentric rings in a bullseye, it'll move out. Now, it won't be that specific. It's not going to have a specific shape. But it's going to be like if you dropped a little atomic bomb, the bomb is slowly, its radiation is slowly going to spread out. Now, at this stage of the game, Alexandra, what are you feeling down here around your belly?
I feel a little bit of nausea and more energy expanding out through my body.
Okay, the nausea is not really about your internal senses. The nausea is really just about how strong your belly is. And a lot of people don't have strong bellies. Don't kid yourself. Stomach aches and all that kind of stuff are very prevalent in almost every society on the face of the earth where people have too much food. The only place they don't get that nausea is places where they're half starving to death, like in Africa or in parts of China, where there is no food because there's nothing to cause the chemical interaction between them. But as you do this, just keep on relaxing and relax that nausea. You're well fed, so you're not going to die. It's not like, this is telling you about you haven't eaten in 3 weeks. Although you get someone in Africa, they could feel that way. You get someone who's very fat, even though they've got enough on them to last them 6 months, they're going to feel like something's crushing inside their stomach. That's the experiences they'll have. And then with that, everything that's attached from their internal organ system is going to start going weird on them. Here we go. Now I'm right over the artery. And here is where you're going to start to feel your internal senses, or you're not. I'm not going to say everybody can feel it. I'm not going to say nobody can feel it. I'm going to say it's not predictable. People have different talents. Some people can play basketball for a year and get in the NBA. Some people can play football, and next thing you know, they're national football championships. Some people can do 3 months of scientific research, and all of a sudden they come up with a Nobel Prize. Some people do that same scientific research for 25 years, and they don't even figure out how to make an aspirin. People have different natural talents, and there's no way of knowing which one will emerge out of any given person's body. There's no way to know. Now, if you can get right down to the core of where that energy is emanating, you can know. But very few people can do that. Now what's happening, Alexander?
I feel like I have a sense of my whole body, but I'm slightly detached from it. Like at the same moment, I'm aware of the entire shape of my whole body, and it feels like there's more space inside of it.
Now, this is another common stage on the way to feeling your internal senses. Most people can feel their fingertip. They can't feel what's going on deep inside their guts. They can't feel what's going on around their bones. They can't feel what's going on inside their brain. So they can feel the external, but they can't feel the internal. And this is a good sign when she starts feeling something that's around her brain, because that means that her internal senses are getting ready to turn on, but they have not yet turned on. Now, that feeling that you're feeling, can you move it? Can you make it go down to your fingertips?
Yes.
Can you make it go to the middle of your belly?
Yes.
Can you make it go to your crotch?
Yes.
Can you make it go to your knees?
Yes.
Can you make it go to your feet?
Yes.
Now, can you feel it going to everywhere in your body?
Yes.
And can you move the waves of this, just like if you had fog and you had a fan, you could push the fog around the room. Can you push your internal senses around your body?
Yes.
Okay, that's enough for this moment. Now, where we went from was an unawareness of her internal senses. Her external senses, of course, she could feel it. I mean, she's got skin. You could feel your skin, right? So that's normal. And heaven help you, you try and get someone to feel their internal senses and they can't feel their skin. Okay, get that person to a hospital. I mean that quite seriously. That usually indicates a brain problem. It doesn't usually indicate a body problem. Something in their brain is goofing with their internal nervous system. Okay? But then the next thing is you start going deeper as you go to each layer of first. And again, we're only playing around really with the first body. We're not really going into this here. That how would you know you're feeling something? Well, the way that most people do it, and any other way is either rather unusual, is that you feel contrast. Something about her chest felt different than her belly, her right side different from her left. Going in an inch felt different than going in 2 inches. So you keep on noticing this because this is giving you a hint of the way in which your internal senses are traveling inside you. And the next thing you really have to do is you have to get your internal senses through something. I mean, I had to do it by going here and up here. To have your internal senses lock onto the place that's the giveaway. This is where my internal senses are awakening because that's where they awoke. And then I have to let that enter into that place, penetrate it, go in as saturate it as much as possible until of its own accord, not that you do it, it starts growing inside you. And this is like the equivalent of cracking open a walnut and then finding that the meat inside of it, that's where your internal senses are.